Basketball fans, welcome into another episode of Raptors Today. Akil Augustine, and boy, do we have a show for you today, because guess what? It's a family affair. We have the dynamic duo. The Hamilton twins are in the house. Of course, we got Unc Sherm and Big Sis right now. Savanna Hamilton in the house, in the building. First off, Sav, let's check in. How you living?
We're okay. We will never beat the rumors.
We will not.
We will never beat the rumors.
But it's okay. We know the truth.
They were fresh this month.
Sherm is not my dad. He's not my uncle, but we're probably related somehow, some way back. We're Jamaican, so that's good enough.
All Jamaicans are cousins. I stand by that.
Probably that.
So here we go. Let's jump into it. We got some news coming from practice. IQ did not practice today. Ochai did not practice today. Chris currently shut down with illness. Intriguing time for this Toronto Raptors team. So before we talk about all that, we got you here, Savannah. We're going to talk about Gradey and RJ. Let's focus on them because they spoke today at practice. Let's talk about RJ for a quick second, though. I know you spent a lot of time with this group, gotten to know them behind the scenes. RJ is an interesting guy for me because I personally, a couple episodes ago, started my campaign, RJ for All-Star. Obviously, it's not going to happen due to team success. But he has grown so much this year. What have you seen behind the scenes about what's happening with him?
He's a leader. I think he's like, when Scotty was out that entire time, like especially the beginning of the season, he filled those shoes. And it was a growing pain because there was a good stretch of time where he was not filling the shoes and he wasn't playing to the best of his abilities. And people were like, well, he's better at home than on the road, and there's all that stuff.
There was that conversation
with
the
the
10-point differential.
Exactly. But now that's not the conversation at all. Now he's pretty consistent across the board. He had his own stretch of illnesses and everything, and I saw him behind the scenes in New York battling, man. He was battling because when he was coming back from being gone from illness there for a while, he was like huffing and puffing, but he was fighting through it, and he still put up his numbers. He came back in game shape, and he was putting back up his numbers. He's a leader. That's what I see in RJ.
Sure.
Yeah, I think we're learning that RJ is mentally tough. He's physically tough. He's a true pro.
We put a cap on him thanks to the Knicks. We limited what we thought about him.
Well, I think sometimes when you see a young player operate in a system, you kind of feel like you know some things about him. Yeah. But what he's shown is when he got here, he's shown that he is not just that. He's way more. Now, with a young player, it's a development process. Even though he's developing at a high rate, he's still going to have those moments. He has those stretches, figuring out the road RJ as opposed to the home RJ. But what we know is his skill set is wide. Mm-hmm. His mentality is tough. He's aggressive. And he's a guy who, I think when you're building a young core, you need people who, no matter what's going on around them, they're that stabilizing force. They're that consistent person. Their messaging, both verbally and through actions, is the same thing. And I think RJ presents that with his play and with his verbiage. And I think that's where leadership lies in RJ.
I've always had an impression of RJ as a person first because his dad's one of my mentors, and I've been around the kid for so long. So I never really saw RJ, like, you know, when you think of like LeBron and you're removed from somebody, and you're like, there's a certain skill set. I always thought of RJ as just more a guy. And now I'm around him as a player, and I think he might be one of those really special elite players I never gave him the credit for. And this opportunity kind of created it. Now, something we learned with the recent injuries was, man, Gradey. There was a stretch where Gradey was going for 30 a night. And now, with the team being healthy again, and Sherm, you warned me about this, right? A guy's role when two stars are out is completely different, and the shots he's going to get and the confidence he's going to have. But let's talk about what you've seen from Gradey, because, again, last year, completely different situation from this year because he started slow, came on strong. This year starts really strong, but due to a situational thing, it's harder for him to get off. What are you thinking about Gradey now?
Well, I think going back to last year for a second, you know, he hit a turning point at this time last year. He kind of got used to the game. I think the game started to slow down for him around January. He was coming from the G League a lot, working with Coach Evo a lot.
Yep.
And now this year, as you mentioned, there's obviously a big adjustment when the starters all come back.
Yeah.
Before, like this season, like when the season started up until January, that starting lineup did not play that much. They only played a total of 4 minutes together. And so
That's
now
crazy.
4 minutes total from last season up until this January. So of course you're going to be trying to redefine your role, and what does that look like when you have a scoring point guard in IQ that can shoot the ball too, and you know, a Scotty Barnes that could do a little bit of everything, and RJ, of course, as we just talked about the versatility of him. He could do a little bit of everything. So I think that's where Gradey is trying to insert himself. Like, does he, you know, obviously you want him to be off ball, but like, does that look like more cutting? cutting, and what is that exactly for a shooter like him coming off of screens, or what does that look like?
Well, he's another guy, kind of like RJ, I feel, where everybody thought he was just a shooter coming out of college. And then we saw last year, at the end of the year, towards the end of the season, that he had some other stuff in his game. But was it him trying stuff? This season, I feel like Gradey has shown everybody that he can handle the ball. He can shoot off the dribble. He can play pick and roll. He cuts very well. He sees what's happening and is able to read defenses. And he can still shoot the ball at a very high level. And I just think that in a season where this team isn't winning a lot, it's easy to kind of pick what he's not doing well. Yes, his field goal percentage isn't great. However, when you're talking about growth in a young player, I feel you got to look at it from an extended view. It's not as microscopic as it needs to be. And when you look at Gradey's skill set and then you project down the road, the field goal percentage will come up with experience, with understanding situations, with being put in situations, which he has been this season due to injury.
Yep.
That's where the growth is. So I don't really watch the field goal percentage. I watch the game to game. Is he recognizing things? And I think he's doing a great job of that. But his skill set is wide-ranging as well, and I'm impressed with what he's done. I mean, this is a very young player, and this is a guy who got the opportunity, took advantage of it, and now we're seeing and saying, okay, the core is Scotty, RJ, and IQ.
You got to add Gradey.
Now you got to add Gradey.
Of course.
And that's a testament to him showing everybody and his organization how much he can improve and how good he is.
Which is a
Say that
lot
quickly.
to add. Yeah, which is a lot to ask of a second-year player.
True say. All right, here's RJ and Gradey.
You kind of found yourself fatigued at points, or are you kind of starting to come back out of that? What's that experience been?
Yeah, I mean, it does feel a little similar compared to college and, last year, but obviously a lot more games in college. So, and a lot, like you said, shorter time, and it's just back-to-backs and all that stuff. It definitely takes a toll, but, I mean, I feel like I talked about it, a lot with getting into recovery and stuff like that with, the vets that I can go to and guys like Garrett that have been doing this year after year and kind of know little tricks and stuff to, what makes their bodies feel right, really taking the importance in and knowing the 82-game season, it calls for that. So.
We're just talking to Gradey a little bit about some of the adjustments he's had to make first year to second year, and looking back, is that maybe the biggest development jump a player makes, just because the rookie year is so shocking and you gotta get your feet under yourself for year two?
I think every year is pretty big, to be honest. Just if you're trying to get better, I look at even like now, from my second year till now, how different I am. So just every single summer you come in, you work. Your rookie year, coming into your second year, you definitely always feel like you have, a lot more to prove. You didn't really know anything coming in, and now he knows a little bit more. So we've just been happy with Gradey's development, and you can see it when he's out there on the court.
I'm TJ Ford, and you're watching the Raptors YouTube channel. Check out our latest videos and subscribe to our YouTube page.
Works right into the lane, puts it up and in!
TJ flies away, fades, fires, Timeout,